There's something special going on in southwestern Indiana, and people are starting to take notice.
I would call it magical, to be honest.
Located along the path of the Mississippi Flyway lies the Goose Pond Fish and Wildlife Area, an area that has significantly improved the Flyway's terrain. This region, once landscaped by tiled cropland and homesteads, is now reestablished as 9,018 acres of prairie and marsh habitat, featuring more than 7,000 acres of wetlands restored through the Natural Resources Conservation Service Wetland Reserve Program, also known as WRP. Goose Pond is one of the largest wetland restoration projects in the nation and provides crucial habitat for migratory birds traveling from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. And atop a 2.7-acre man-made island located in Goose Pond, the interior least tern, a federal and state-listed endangered species, is making its comeback. Interior least tern can typically be found nesting on gravel sandbars along rivers, lakes, and gravel pits, but changes in river systems, including dams, reservoirs, water diversions, and recreation, have disturbed or eliminated most least tern nesting habitat in the Midwest. As a result, they were listed as federally endangered species in 1985.
The least terns are very sensitive to disturbance. The whole reason why they became endangered in the first place was because when there are available habitat that occurs along their natural areas, which are along rivers, on sandbars along these rivers, they often get disturbed by people who will like to ride their ATVs or go to the beach along the rivers. And so they're really sensitive to that. They usually will abandon their nest.
But their story in Indiana doesn't end there. Not long after the federal listing, a pair of breeding birds were identified on a dike along Gibson Lake. Because of the location of the nest, measures were taken through a habitat conservation plan, which called for efforts to conserve or create more habitat for the nesting birds. As a result of these efforts, 2 WRP easement areas were acquired and restored in Gibson County. The success of these 2 wetland areas didn't go unnoticed. In 2008, almost 70 miles north of Cane Ridge and Turnbar Slough, NRCS expanded efforts at the Goose Pond Fish and Wildlife Area by building an island dedicated specifically for the interior least tern using WRP funds.
It's really the only feature of the property that's managed just for one thing. So it's kind of unique. Typically we manage for, the habitat and the entire ecosystem management, but that's a unique situation.
During construction of the island, Indiana Department of Natural Resources was already seeing successes.
The day that the least terns arrived on the property was June 13, 2009, in the evening. We'd had the single biggest day of birding probably in the interior of Indiana in history, just because there was water in Main Pool West for the first time. It was done.
Throughout the years, the least tern population has slowly but steadily increased.
Right now they're up to 17 individuals, that's their high, and we actually had a stellar year this year, which was 9 fledglings, the most we've ever had with the Tern Island being on this property in Goose Pond's history.
And the least tern's arrival isn't the only significant visitor the island has seen. In general, the bird response to the island and Goose Pond has been magnificent. Rare and endangered birds have all made least tern island their home.
Making an open space within an island in the middle of it itself made a real big difference, even before the terns got there. Because lots of birds coming in from the south, that's the first thing they see, and it's open water even when it's all this vegetation.
The cumulative conservation benefits of the wetlands restored and protected through WRP, like Goose Pond, Cane Ridge, Turnbar Slough, and Tern Island, are many and reach well beyond their boundaries. What these areas provide in flood control, wildlife habitat, scenic beauty, and outdoor recreation is invaluable to the surrounding communities. These areas have been essential to increasing and stabilizing the population of the interior least terns, as well as other important species in Indiana. So much so that the United States Fish and Wildlife Service is reviewing the possibility of delisting the interior least terns due to an increase in tern numbers.
If you build it, they will come. They were a perfect example of that.